Yo, what is good, everybody? It is your boy, Golden Falls, Golden What Ifs, whatever you want to call me, and I am back. This is part 2 of What If Deku Had Majin Powers. It seems like y'all enjoyed the first one. It's really good to see. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it, because I really am interested and excited to continue this What If. And yeah, it's really all I gotta say, other than the fact that you gotta make sure to check the links in the description for the Discord and also the Spotify that we obviously have, and I try my best to stay up to date with. Obviously, is not fully up to date just yet, but I will get there eventually. And yeah, that's really all I have to say for until we get into this video. So let's get right into the what if. Let's get it. Izuku Midoriya is about to get blasted by Bakugo. He's been blasted by some crazy explosions from this absolute delinquent, angry Pomeranian, but he's never seen one like this before. It seems like he's built up all of this sweat within his kind of insanely crazy gauntlets, and he's letting loose an insanely big explosion. An explosion that could just flatline half a building. Izuku braces himself, but he can't do anything really at all. He's about to get hit by the brunt of the explosion, and he's trying to move out of the way. But he gets grazed, or at least half of his body is basically engulfed by this explosion. All Might calls out and basically tells them to stop, but it's way too late. Izuku is thrown by this explosion out of the building, and he goes barreling down. He's completely scorched in this explosion, and he's completely covered in just ash and soot, and he looks like he's burnt to a crisp. Like his entire body looks burnt to a crisp. Everybody's shocked to see this, wondering how. Why did he do that? I mean, seriously, this is a training session. Why would he do that? And of course, Izuku, he didn't think that Bakugo would even go to this length. He didn't think Bakugo would even go this far. Why would he? Why would he ever think in a training session somebody would try and kill him? And here's the thing. Izuku's falling and he feels nothing. He feels absolutely nothing. No pain, no burn, no nothing. He realizes that his body begins to heal itself without him even thinking. He looks around and thinks this is insane. How is he doing this? How is this happening? And before he even touches the ground, he would be levitating above it. Izuku in complete and utter shock, and so is everybody, even an All Might who was borderline about to call the entire training session off. Izuku looks toward a camera and then flies immediately through the window as he smacks a Bakugo straight in the face, sending him directly toward a wall. Izuku would look at his body, his clothes burnt off entirely, but his body healed completely. He's shocked to see this, but he wants to end this now. He looks at Bakugo with a serious face, thinking, I could end you now. I could charge in full head of steam and be done with it. But he stops. He thinks, no, this is what you would want. You'd want me to pop a lid. You'd want me to show everybody that I'm not a hero. You'd want me to show everyone that I'm vulnerable, that I'm weak, that I couldn't hold myself back, even though you just gave me something I never would have imagined. Izuku looks at Bakugo, who's on the ground, cowering in a way and unable to get up, and he thanks Bakugo. He says, thank you. If without you, without your idiotic attempt at killing me, I wouldn't have figured it all out. I wouldn't have understood it. And now I know that my powers, it's so much more than I could possibly imagine. He would then fly up the staircase and head right toward where Tenya Ida is with Ochako Uraka. And he would immediately dart toward the bomb, and he would touch it with one hand. He would help her do the same, and they would win. Izuku would tell Tenya that his partner is downstairs, and he made quite the damn display. That's for sure. Izuku would then say that it's no worries at all. He knows he had nothing to do with it, but it's unfortunate that he had to be teamed up with someone like him. And Tenya is in shock, thinking that he thought Izuku died. He thought the worst. He was so worried he couldn't even react to Izuku touching the bomb. He couldn't even really think for himself. And eventually they would all head back. And let's just say All Might would be very serious about this, telling Bakugo that he has to go to some serious counseling. He tried to kill a classmate, and Bakugo says that no, he didn't. Izuku, he always dodges. He always gets out of the way, and he wasn't trying to hit him directly. In which immediately Izuku would say that is some BS. That he might have tried to not hit Izuku full on, but he knew what type of damage he would have done if that blast connected. If that thing connected full on, full throttle, that blast would have took his life in a matter of seconds. And that is the reality of it. In which, of course, Bakugo has really nothing else to say because, well, Izuku said it. And that's the truth of it. Izuku was almost taken from life itself on this day, but now he sees things in a totally different way because he now understands his quirk even more, and there must be even more secrets buried underneath his skin, buried in the very DNA that he has. He's not sure, but he has a feeling, a good feeling about this, and a good feeling that there is so much more to come. But nonetheless, Izuku continues with his training, continues getting prepared. Bakugo goes off to a little bit of therapy and different stuff like that, but he obviously is still in the hero school, barely even getting reprimanded because, you know, power equals everything, and power is everything in the hero world. But of course, this doesn't really matter to a large degree, and Izuku kind of gets some tests from some on-field doctors about his quirk and stuff like that, but nothing is really found out. Nothing more than they already had in the first place. So they kind of just let it go and think that Izuku's just ever developing, and maybe there's just going to be even more to come, even more than people could possibly even imagine. But still, he has some training to do, and that training ensues, and eventually they would go to the USJ. And the USJ is something that is pretty damn important, because this is their first time doing rescue training. Something that Izuku excels in, by the way. Something that Izuku, especially with his new powers, would be really good at. But he obviously could heal and help others and kind of do his own thing with kind of, you know, saving people and helping people out. But when they would get to the USJ, they would all be chatting, all be conversating and blah, 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 blah. Well, they would realize that portals would begin to open up and people and creatures and villains would come pouring out of the portals. And bam, they all realize that they are being invaded by a group known as the League of Villains. Scary, extremely scary, but something that, well, they're going to have to really deal with right now. And without the help of All Might, it's going to be up to the students to basically kind of preserve their own survival. And that's what they're trying to do, trying to survive. Izuku, Asui, and Mineta would get sent off to a lake of some sorts, but luckily Izuku, he's able to basically fly up, and he's able to get out of the water, grabbing Asui and also grabbing Mineta and flying them away, making it so these villains that are in the water, they don't even stand a chance. They couldn't even catch up to them. Izuku had Asui and Mineta out of there and off the boat that is in this giant lake before you could possibly know it. Asui would be obviously grateful, and, well, Mineta would be as well, but Mineta would be kind of in his own way, kind of be awkward and, you know, kind of try to be his normal weird self and kind of make advances on Asui and stuff like that while they're literally being saved, which Izuku kind of tosses him to safety, and while he like, you know, nicely puts down Asui instead, in which he looks over to see that Aizawa is fighting and clashing with villain after villain, destroying what seems to be all of them. But here's the thing, eventually the Nomu would come barreling in and smack him straight into a wall and beat him to a pulp. He is gone. He is completely borderline obliterated, and he is barely hanging on to life. Izuku would fly in, grabbing Aizawa and getting him away, as he sees a hand show up right in front of him, touching his arm, and Izuku could feel his arm cracking and breaking and shattering. He would cut off his own arm in a matter of a split second, taking a knife out of Aizawa's pocket, cutting it off, and he would still carry Aizawa away, healing Aizawa all the way up and healing him to the point where he can actually get back in the fight if he so chooses. Aizawa would gasp in complete shock. "Your arm, kid. What the hell happened to your arm?" Izuku shakes his head and says, "Don't worry about it. Trust me. Don't worry about it." Izuku is basically in pain, but he's healed himself over and he can actually grow back his arm. And Izuku knows this, but he wants to play with this idea. He wants them to think that he's in pain, and he wants them to think that they have some sort of leg up. He tells Aizawa to stay down, act like he's extremely hurt still. They might have an opportunity, especially when, well, eventually someone else shows up, other heroes show up. So Izuku basically goes around healing the other students without many of the villains knowing. And Shigaraki, he's biding his time, messing with some of the students and doing this and doing that. And all Izuku is making sure is he's stalling time for Tenya, as Tenya's running to get All Might, and All Might is about to arrive. And when All Might arrives, Izuku finds this to be the best time, because he tells Aizawa that it's time now, that they're going to go and basically fight Shigaraki, and to just be ready for his signal, and he'll know what that signal is, in which Izuku would scream and tell All Might that he's not going to allow him to fight on his own when he clashes with the Nomu. All Might would clash with the Nomu over and over again, as Izuku would charge at Shigaraki. Shigaraki would laugh and tell the kid that he has some gall to charge at him when he has one arm. Shigaraki would put out his hand and Izuku would slip it, throwing the right hand. But as he's throwing his right hand, well, Shigaraki moves out of the way to grab the right hand, but then is out of nowhere smacked with his left hand. Izuku regenerating his left hand, punching him straight in the jaw, and then smacking him straight to the ground when Shigaraki was just flat out not ready for it at all. Izuku follows up with a kick to his stomach, and Shigaraki grabs his leg, but Aizawa would be utilizing his quirk, realizing that he's able to shut down Shigaraki's quirk, and Izuku would stomp on his back. Izuku begins to beat on Shigaraki, being able to actually incapacitate him to a certain extent, and Izuku would look toward Kurogiri as he's actually basically taken away by a portal once again. Izuku would try to jump through the portal, but he can't. He would look around to see that he's in another part of Japan. He begins to kind of curse and be extremely upset, because he's thinking he really could have helped more, but he hopes that everyone will be safe. He would eventually make his way back to the school, and as he arrives, he sees all the students seemingly safe and sound, and of course he would see Aizawa walk up to him, and Aizawa would ask the kid if he's okay, what happened, and so on. And he says that he was portaled away to a different part of Japan, and he was pretty damn far away, but luckily he can fly, so he was able to come back in a timely manner. And he asks what happened. And of course, Aizawa says that it doesn't really matter necessarily, but everyone was safe, everyone was healed up, and not even injured because of him. And on top of that, well, it seems that Shigaraki and these other villains, they actually got away, except for the Nomu. They actually left the Nomu after All Might defeated it, in which immediately Aizawa would bring Izuku to the side and ask if that healing, all that healing he did, could he do that for All Might? In which Izuku says he's not sure. He's not, but he can try. Is there something wrong with All Might? In which Aizawa would kind of pause for a second and then tell Izuku he needs to go talk to All Might, in which Izuku nods his head, and that's what he does. And Izuku would meet up with All Might, and they would have a long conversation. He would explain his quirk, explain what he is, and you know, the injury he got. And honestly, this is when he would actually offer One for All to Izuku, believing that Izuku might be the perfect candidate for it. But Izuku shakes his head. He says there's so much different about his own powers that he just doesn't feel like this will give him the chance to uncover and discover everything he needs to discover. But he wants him to hold on to One for All. If he wants to give it to someone else that is worthy, go right ahead. But he can heal All Might. he knows he can. He tells All Might to sit down, and he begins to heal him, and All Might begins to feel that the wound that was scarred over, the wound that was disgusting and destroyed part of his lungs, it begins to heal. Like, it seems like he's refreshing almost every body part in All Might's body, even vital organs. And it seems like he's healing him all the way up, and All Might feels like he's in his prime once again. All Might can't believe it. He wonders, this power that Izuku has, it's insane. It's amazing. It's groundbreaking. And, I mean, in the right hands, it will be perfect. He could truly be the greatest hero ever. But there's something that All Might said. In the right hands, it could be amazing. It could be great. It could make somebody the greatest hero ever. But in the wrong hands, like Shigaraki's, like Hirogiri's, like All for One's, it could make the most unstoppable monster to ever be seen. And Izuku, well, that worries him. That thought, that idea worries him, makes him very, very scared, because he doesn't know what his powers are truly like. He doesn't know what it can truly make of his powers, but it seems as if there's something that was left out. It seems as if Shigaraki got DNA from Izuku, and they actually want to somehow make something of it. But they need Izuku. They need more. They need him to make what they truly think that they can make. But this is an unknown territory that the doctors and scientists, they would have no idea where to start. And frankly, this is something that could either go really good for them or really, really bad. And that's the reality of it, because there's no true rhyme or reason to proceed with something so unknown. But guess what? They're gonna do it anyways, and Izuku and everybody else will have no idea what's happening, at least for the moment. And the next part for Izuku's journey, well, that's the UA Sports Festival. And the UA Sports Festival is pretty damn entertaining. He definitely doesn't have a speech to do or anything like that, but it's entertaining to watch everything that's happening, and Izuku is happy to really be there. And the obstacle course race, easy peasy. He flies around and he eventually gets there, and he doesn't even worry about getting number one or not. He has no worries in the world about it, actually, feeling that he has no, let's just say, expectations. So he gets around 4th place, and Izuku would team up with similar people, with Ochako, with Tokiyami, with Mei Hatsume and all of them. And Mei even brings up the fact that she actually is really interested in basically working with him a lot more, and wondering more about him, about his regenerative powers and this and that, in which he says, yeah, they can talk about it more very soon, but for now he'll stick to just what they're doing. In which Mei says, of course, like, sorry, we'll talk later. In which they would kind of do their own thing, and they would be able to defend their headbands for the most part from everyone, especially with the fact that Izuku can fly and basically take everybody with him. So they're able to hold on to their scores, getting a pretty damn decent score of their own, and watching everybody fight over a 10 million point headband. This would lead them into 1 versus 1s, in which Izuku would be pretty damn excited to actually fight some people, fight some of the strongest people in this class, in Class 1A, in Class 1B, whatever, wherever, and whoever he wants to actually get into doing this. In which his first fight is against someone by the name of Shinso, in which this is interesting. Shinso, huh? I mean, he wonders what the powers he has are, and he's even they explain what they are to him, because they're trying to look out for Izuku. But as Izuku basically is about to fight him, well, he starts making fun of Izuku, starts saying these horrible things, and Izuku gets caught up and actually responds. And as he does, okay, well, that's not good, because he falls under this kind of weird mind control brainwashing state. And as he's there, well, he begins to see things, very odd things. He sees something. he sees something in the distance, something that looks pink, maybe gooey. He's not sure what the material is, but it has, well, hair, has, clothing, has just normal stuff, and it seems to be in a lab of some sorts. He doesn't know what it is, who it is, or what's going on, but he tries to approach it, continuously walking forward until all he can see is nothingness now. The thing is gone. Whatever it was, it's no longer there, and Izuku wonders, what was it? What is it? And as he reawakens, he's stepping off onto the ground, but he's able to float above the ground, actually avoiding a knockout, or a ring out, excuse me. Izuku would turn around, flying and kicking Shinso off, and he apologizes, telling Shinso that his quirk is very interesting, but he's still learning so much about his own, and it seems like his quirk just falls a little bit short. Izuku would prepare himself and basically get ready for the next thing, and get ready for the next kind of event, or the next person that he's going to have to face off with. And that is going to be an interesting one, because it is Shoto Todoroki. And Shoto Todoroki, well, he brings it. Izuku would watch as he throws ice pillar after iceberg after iceberg, and he brings it to Izuku, and he tries everything. And Izuku is slowing down to a certain extent, but eventually Shoto would begin to slow down, and he would massively slow down to the point where it kind of seems like his weakness is just overusage of his quirk, and his ice is beginning to cover him, and it's going really bad for him now, because Izuku is finding openings that, well, he's seeing, especially with the way he's utilizing his quirk. He questions him. Why not use his other side? I mean, seriously. I mean, if he uses his other side, he definitely can mitigate it better, and he definitely can do a lot better in this fight. And, well, he looks over, and, well, he hears Endeavor scream that he's right, Shoto. You need to use your fire side. Use that fire side. And Izuku looks at him and then looks back at Shoto, and he realizes, oh, that's why. That makes a lot of sense. Izuku would tell Todoroki that he gets it. He hears him. He understands it. But guess what? It's still his quirk. Still his powers. And he needs to utilize it to really, really uphold his fullest potential. And he knows he doesn't want to. He knows that he doesn't want to actually use his father's powers, but it's his powers now, his strength. And every single day they are developing. Every single day they are learning, and every single day they are getting stronger. And that includes Todoroki. That includes Shoto, in which he tells Shoto to do this and help himself and help him, because he would never want to win when someone's using half of his powers, in which Todoroki would awaken his fire, and Izuku would smile, and he would nod. He would say that this right here, this is a fitting end. Izuku charges forward as fire and ice would get thrown right at his direction. Izuku would try to barrel forward, trying to push his way through, but he can feel the ice and the fire pushing against him, and it throws him out of the ring. But for a brief moment, he can feel that he could stop himself. He can stay in this fight, but he decides that he's going to be eliminated. He's going to let himself be eliminated, and he wants to see what Todoroki has next. Laying on the ground, being eliminated, Todoroki would help him up, and Izuku would just be smiling. He basically tells Todoroki that his power is impressive, and, well, I think all of them have a long way to go, and Todoroki nods and says that he agrees. He really does. In which they walk away, and everyone cheers, and, all hoopla and hoorah, and Izuku just watches the rest of the UA Sports Festival, impressed with how good Todoroki does, leading to Todoroki actually winning and utilizing his fire side fully, not actually limiting himself against Bakugo, in which is massively impressive, and it's a massive impressive kind of thing for Shoto Todoroki, showing off in front of everybody, and, well, Endeavor is really happy, but it's pretty obvious that that was not because of endeavor, and Todoroki in a speech makes it very clear. Says that he got some advice from some very, very good friends that he should utilize that fire side because if it's his own powers. It has nothing to do with his father, and he's going to separate himself as a hero from his father however he possibly can. In which Izuku would smile, watching all of it unfold, and Izuku is just excited to see what happens next. And unfortunately, he would actually be down quite a bit of offers. He doesn't have that much, and very little offers, in fact. And the only one that actually surprises him is hand-delivered by All Might. And it's from Gran Torino, someone who trained All Might himself. And All Might says that he feels like this is the best thing for him to give to him because, well, he kind of helped out a lot, right? He helped him out a lot. So Gran Torino would love to take him on as a student, in which Izuku thinks this is a great idea. I mean, a way for him to train his strength, a way for him to kind of get better at martial arts and, fighting. I mean, it'd be great, especially learning from somebody as wise as someone that taught All Might, in which this would make him very, very excited. And eventually he would actually train with Gran Torino, and eventually he would start training with him and working and doing this and doing that, in which Gran Torino would even bring up the fact that he really should have taken on One for All. He's kind of the perfect successor, in which Izuku says he understands that, and he continues to explain why he doesn't want to, in which Gran Torino stops him and says, no, he understands, he gets it. But in the side of watching heroes, it's kind of beyond him not to say something, and beyond him not to say that he had great potential with the addition of One for All as well. It doesn't mean he doesn't have great potential and amazing potential now, but he just, in the hero kind of mindset, it would have been pretty awesome to see, in which Izuku continues to get training all the way up until they actually are going to Hosu City for some a bit of kind of looking and also patrolling in that city. But before you know it, they would be seeing Nomus and creatures and villains all about, so much more than you could possibly imagine, and so much more than they ever thought would actually be there. And Izuku would go with Gran Torino to try to help as many people as possible. And Izuku does just that, helping a ton of people, healing, helping, getting everybody out of harm's way, flying around, saving a bunch of people. And let's just say there are a lot of phones, there's a lot of people watching this as it's happening, and it's pretty darn amazing to watch. Everybody is in complete awe. Like, whoa, who is this guy? Who is this kid that is flying around saving all of these people? I mean, seriously, this is amazing. And eventually, well, let's just say a Nomu would try to actually attack Izuku. But as he goes to attack Izuku, well, out of nowhere, someone would come barreling out, stabbing the Nomu and slamming him into the ground. This was Stain. Stain actually just crumbles the Nomu into the ground, just obliterating it. And he looks at Izuku and he says that he's been watching him. He actually was killing a fake hero over there, but he started watching Izuku fly around, save people, help everybody with a smile on his face, healing, saving. That right there, he reminds him of All Might. He reminds him of a true hero, in which Stain would tell him, or basically, Izuku would tell Stain that he needs to surrender now. He does. And he tells Stain that he needs to surrender and stop the violence against fake heroes. Let them rehabilitate. Let them save themselves from mediocrity. Stain would look at him, then look back at the alleyway, and then Stain would look back at Izuku once again. And Stain would nod his head, and he would say, well, maybe not today. Maybe another day. He would jump off and just leave. Just leaving the body that he had right there that was about to be killed, just there in the alleyway. And Izuku would look, and it's Tenya Ida. He can't freaking believe it, but it happened. What is this? I mean, seriously, this is insane. he runs over, helping Tenya, healing him up, and asking what the hell was he thinking? What was he doing? And Tenya has some BS excuse, but luckily he's safe. Luckily he's okay. And Izuku is able to get him and many others out of there, leading to many heroes praising him extremely loudly, and also a lot of the media praising him as well. And when he gets back to school, when all the internships are cut off a little bit short, everybody is talking about it. This savior, this person who's like a guardian angel. I mean, flying around, healing and saving. And Aizawa tells the kid that this is what this hero world is. But it seems like he has a good grasp on it nonetheless. But back to real life and back to the task at hand, because they got some final exams to handle. And that's a written portion and a practical. And Izuku is going to have to handle them both. And it's going to be difficult because after the written, in the practical, he's going to have to take on someone he's really not going to want to take on. And that is All Might. All Might versus Izuku Midoriya and Katsuki Bakugo. But how will that fight go? Well, you're going to have to find out in part 3 of What If Deku Had Majin Powers. And if you enjoyed, show some love. Leave a like, leave a sub, leave a comment down below. All that good stuff. Sorry if I'm losing my voice toward the end of this recording. I truly apologize. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video nonetheless. Hope you guys leave a like, leave a sub, leave a comment down below. All that good stuff. And I hope all y'all have an amazing day. Later.